Okay, so we got this welded in, these frame rails, but this one had some trouble. We had to actually take the shock tower off. I spared you the cutting off of that, but the angle wasn't right. We couldn't get this to fit right. So now we're back to fitting the inner fenders and sheet metal. So we're gonna try to tack this shock tower on where it goes. We're gonna use a plumb bob and try to set it the same as this one is. Because this is the only one we have to kind of go by. Well, it's the best way to do it probably. And the measurements front to back, so we'll tack it in.
So my brother came up with the idea that the best way to replicate the angle of the driver's side shock tower on the passenger side was to use a plumb bob down through the shock tower hole. And for us, that worked really well, and everything seems to fit well after this, as you'll see.
Gotta go in. Yeah, let me check the calipers, I guess.
Front to back measurement's good on the rail.
I mean, that's probably close enough.
Yeah, that's pretty mint. I think you gotta weld this side.
Yeah, but are we in the right spot, front to rear?
That's what I'm saying.
Well, true.
Yeah, measure this one.
Oh man, I need some more wire.
Sorry. We'll have to do that again to make sure it's good.
I just moved the whole thing back.
Alright, plumb bob it.
See, I go like this, I know it does.
Alright, plumb bob it.
You gotta get rid of welds. I'm gonna have to do that.
Well, I'll measure the back, you measure the front. Because I'm right here.
Well, hang on a second.
Hanging.
Which line is it? The back line?
Yeah, the back line. Right there.
Up or down?
Yep, that's right on the money. Right there.
No, hammer this front down, because I know it went out.
Can you measure the front, Dad? And I'll hit it with a hammer.
Is there a way to tape this plumb bob right here? That would be nice.
Probably. Just tape it, yeah. I got tape right here.
That's what we need to do, I think.
It's a good idea, then you can mess with it.
Where's the tape measure?
I'm gonna hold that, Wilson. We'll get a new piece of tape.
We have tape. Grab a small hammer on the way by.
That one right here.
Very small. Oh, that's a big one. We need something to just tap it with.
Oh, there's rubber now.
You have this one?
Yeah, I just thought this would be better. There you go. Small hammer?
Just small. We don't need big. What we're gonna do. Gotta rotate.
Alright,
What's the back one look like? What's the back look like?
Lower 16.
Down a 16? Go ahead.
More?
Yeah.
Which
No,
side?
Front side. Right? Front side is lower.
Yeah.
Yes, 3 inches.
The motor side is, yes.
More side is 3 inches. 3 inches is there. I think I'd do that. How's the back?
Check the back. The back, please. Let's go up. Again. Lost it. Where's the...
Hang on, before you do that.
The light over here. Yeah, here we go. We're gonna weld it in.
Sometimes you just have to use whatever you have around to line things up, like this ratchet strap right here we used worked really well.
Okay, we're gonna set the inner fender in and see how it looks. See if it fits good. Ready?
Yep. Is it back there tight?
It will. I mean, it's not far off. I mean, we gotta pinch this here to hold on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there we go. Whatever just happened there, that's perfect now. That's pretty. That's pretty much perfect. Actually, yeah, if you just do it there, it matches up here perfect too.
I'm not even touching this.
Things are in it. Jeez, that's what it needed for sure. Okay, so we're continuing from last night. We are just working on this piece, getting that straightened out. It was a little bit chiseled up from there was braze on it that held the new inner fender that they put on there. So the only way to get that off, that panel off, was to chisel some stuff. And there were some marks, so we're just trying to fix that and make it look nice. It looks way better than what it did. It looks way better already than what it did look like. So now we're gonna try to fit some sheet metal and then tack that in place, because all of our measurements are right.
So in the interest of saving as much of and preserving as much of the original sheet metal on the car as possible, my brother's over there working on the bracket that comes off of the firewall that meets the inner fender. It got a little mangled up in the crash, not bad, but also when they originally fixed this car after the crash, they brazed a new inner fender on that side, and it was really difficult to remove, so we had to chisel some stuff to get that off. And he's over there fixing up, just making it look a little better, fixing up some of the gouges and whatever, and we actually broke through it a little bit, so he had to weld up some stuff and make it look nice, and it looks great, and everything should fit good now.
What are we gonna do here? Look at that measurements from that one guy. Yeah. Well, let's clamp them kind of close, and then we'll clamp them. So we're gonna try to put the sheet metal up first, so that before we weld everything in, and make sure it's all fitting good, like the fenders and the radiator support, or the fenders in the front balance. But we welded this on, tacked it in, and fixed it. Needed a repair right there.
Yeah, at this point we've had the sheet metal on and off multiple times, and it's the only way to do it right. You have to measure and remeasure and recheck everything, gaps, etc. We're lucky that it's actually working out really well on this. The stuff's lining up the way it should, but you'll find that you'll have to do this if you do this similar repair to get everything just right.
We gotta adjust the door up, it's not in the right spot.
So here you see my dad and I putting the fenders on, and then we're going to put that piece that has the headlights in it, the headlight buckets in it, across too. So the whole thing is bolted up with, we just threw some bolts in to make sure everything's tightened down and it fits the way it's supposed to. But it really looks like a car now, so it's kind of exciting to see that.
Alright guys, so I know I keep saying we're going to weld the sheet metal on, and we will eventually. I keep thinking we are there, and then we keep finding holes that aren't covered when we get the sheet metal set in where it goes. So we had to keep filling them and grinding them down, which takes hours. Well, then I just found that on this side, this hole is supposed to be slotted on the original car, and the other side is that's attached to the radiator support. So we have to switch just to make it look right, and it's going to take just about as much time, I guess, to weld that on as it would to drill holes in this and then weld it to the current radiator support. So I'm going to take the spot welds off this, pull that thing out, put that one in, and then we also noticed I like AMD, but some of the stuff it's just not original, that's for sure. This thing would not let everything fit right. We measured our heights of our inner fenders. Inner fenders are original sheet metal to Chrysler. I know that's a 71. It has a little notch in it. It's supposed to be a 70, but we thought it'd be cool to put it back the way that they would have fixed it from the accident. And this could be a conversation piece, that little dent there. That's what a 71 inner fender is like versus a 70. It would be smooth. We found that when we put this on in its original configuration, it raises the inner fender too high, and it doesn't match the other side, and also doesn't fit good here. So we put this on, and I decided to cut it right here. You can see where I've welded it on this line right here. Squashed it down a little on the end because it needed to be squished down right here. So if you cut a slice into it, you can squish it down, and I kept cutting slices until we got it where we needed it. It's probably down 1/4 inch to 3/8 of an inch from where it was, and I was hoping it would be subtle enough that most people wouldn't even notice it. I'm hoping when it's on the car, it looks right. I mean, it'll be very hidden by the fender because the fender bolts right on top of there. But I don't know if it's because we used an AMD piece here. It's higher. The other side has the original sheet metal still, but it fits good over there. And these maybe the taper down on this angle right here isn't low enough. We have it matched right to the factory seam, but I'm not sure what happened, but it doesn't line up. This is what happens when you have to modify this sheet metal sometimes when you get it. The AMD stuff, it's the only option you have. It's the best option you have, but you have to modify stuff sometimes. So we had to modify this. I didn't really have to cut this probably, but we did anyway. So I've got to grind this smooth. I just wanted to show you what happens when sometimes stuff doesn't fit. You got to modify it. I also had to cut this front edge right here because it was overhanging wicked. So I tried to just make it match when it's lined up there. It'll match the seam right here all the way up. Sometimes you find rust under there, and we probably got to sandblast it, make it nice. Okay. We got that off. Just ground down the welds because they stick up because it's a spot weld. But you can see how they kind of disappear right into the metal once you grind them down. So now I'm going to put this back on. Set this back in place real carefully. Okay, and then we'll go over here. I don't really like how this edge turned out. This welds onto the frame. It's the lower radiator support, kind of. And I just don't like that. You're going to see that edge. So I just want to fix that. I'm going to try and weld that. So we're just building this piece up a little, and then I'll grind it, and it'll disappear. Okay, I'm gonna just grind these down and get them smooth again.
So we're just trying to do this to make sure that it looks like we didn't fix a wrecked car. We don't want it to look sloppy. You know, you can tell that these things really add up over the whole car when you're doing an entire front clip like this. Fixing all these edges and filling holes that where spot welds were drilled out and there isn't supposed to be a hole. It makes a big difference in the long run. It's up to you how you want to do it, but that's the way we want it to look like we never touched the car and it was never in an accident before. The only downfall is that it does add a lot of time to the process. This is the part that takes the most amount of time when you're redoing a car, is fixing all these small details and grinding things down smooth and getting it just right.
Okay, I just finished this other side. That's what the edge looks like now, nice and clean. That's what it looks like. This is the side that shows. And we'll, when we plug weld these, we'll just make that smooth, but looks pretty good. Okay, we're just getting ready to get this bracket. We finally got it all cleaned up and welded up. And it fits good now. We're gonna weld that on next.
So again, here we notice that the welder's not starting well on the weld through primer. I think our welder's just not as good of a welder as it could be, which is the problem. But we are using that drill right there with a little wire brush on the end, and we just stick it into the circle of the, where the plug weld is going to be, and just get that down to bare metal, and it seems to help a lot. We still get that protection underneath the metal of the weld through primer.
Yep.
Do we want to set all the fenders and shit back on it too?
We need to? Check the gaps.
Big,
Said what?
big driver.
Big, yeah. Okay, again, we're gonna put the sheet metal on just to make sure everything's good, and then we'll start welding this radiator support on, and then we can work on the inner fenders after that, I think. That's the plan anyway.
With a bolt off the bottom?
Yep, so we're going to bolt this fender on to help us line up that radiator support better, and do a little tack just to tack it in place. We're going to use our clamps also, but the fender seemed to work well to hold, we get our measurements off the car to the radiator support, and the fender bolts in a nice spot to hold that radiator support right where it needs to be. So we can tack it in place, then we'll remove the fender so we can get all the welds in there and get the fender out of the way.
Okay, so we're tacking this. Tacking the radiator support in. So we have to do these next because the inner fender goes over them, so we have to get those two in.
You in here, you said?
There.
Oh, here.
Spot weld there.
That one might come from there.
What's this? Ready? Good?
That clamps up nice because the spot weld's behind it.
Oh,
That clamps up nice because the spot weld's behind it.
oh yeah, twisted.
And just take a tap that around that hole and get it flattened out the way you're talking about there.
Yeah, you want to hold that light over here, Dad?
You gotta get it.
Alright, that's good. It's tight. It's tight. Check these measurements. Those little holes filled a little bit, or?
Yeah, maybe one. And the wire feet down. Alright.
Ready?
Yeah.